It was a cold winter night in a small town, the kind of night when the streetlights flicker and shadows stretch long across empty sidewalks. Inside a tiny, rented apartment at the corner of Maple Street, a single father, Rafik, sat on the edge of his worn-out sofa. Rafik hadn't planned to raise his daughter alone. 3 years ago, his wife and the love of his life had passed away after a long illness. Their daughter, Nur, was all he had left now. To the world, he was the strong one and the man who worked long hours at the car workshop, always smiling, always ready to lend a hand. Neighbors would whisper, "What a brave father. May God bless him." But no one saw the nights when Rafik lay awake staring at the cracked ceiling, asking himself, "Am I really enough for her?" Nur was his world. He spent nearly every penny of his small paycheck making sure she had warm clothes, good food, and a proper education. New shoes for her, but never for himself. A warm blanket for her, but he'd sleep with an old one full of holes. One evening, Rafik got stuck at the workshop again. A poor man's old car had broken down, and Rafik, soft-hearted as ever, had stayed late to fix it for free. When he finally reached home, Nur was sitting in the corner of their small room, her little doll, the one her mother had given her, lay broken at her feet. Rafik hugged her tight, made her some rice and lentils, and asked her to eat. Nur didn't say much. He assumed she was just tired. Children get cranky, he thought. What he didn't see was the tiny storm brewing inside her innocent heart. That night, around midnight, Rafik woke up to a faint sound. He rubbed his tired eyes and followed the soft whispers down the hallway. There, through the half-open door of Nura's room, he saw her kneeling on the cold floor, her doll in her arms, whispering into the darkness. "I'm sorry, Mom. I promise I'll be good. Please come back." A broken bar. Rafik's heart dropped. He felt the room spin around him. His sweet daughter, his brave little Nura, had spent all these nights believing that her mother had left because she was a bad child. How many nights had she apologized in the shadows while he was too busy, too exhausted to notice? Rafik gently stepped inside, scooped her up in his arms, and wiped her tears. Nura flinched at first, afraid she'd be scolded for being awake. But her father's voice trembled as he whispered back, "Nur, my love, listen to me. Your mom didn't leave because of you. She loved you more than anything. She got very sick, and sometimes people go back to God. It was never, ever your fault. You are the best thing that ever happened to us. Do you hear me?" Nur clung to him, her tiny sobs soaking through his shirt. And for the first time since his wife had passed, Rafik let himself cry too, really cry, holding his daughter like he could hold the broken pieces of her heart together with his own. The next morning, for the first time in years, Rafik called the workshop and said, "I won't be coming today." He made Nur her favorite breakfast, fried bread and honey, and walked her to school himself. On the way, they stopped for warm milk and cookies. Rafik noticed how Nur kept looking up at him, as if testing if he'd vanished too. At the school gate, he talked to her teacher. He shared everything Nur had whispered the night before. The teacher's eyes welled up. She promised to keep an extra eye on Nur to make sure her little heart felt safe. From that day, Rafik changed his life. He refused extra shifts at the workshop when he could. He spent his evenings with Nur, reading her bedtime stories, helping her fix her doll's clothes, even trying to braid her hair, terribly, but she giggled anyway. They cooked simple dinners together, sometimes burning the chapeltis but laughing so hard that it didn't matter. One evening, they found Nura's mother's old diary in a wooden box. They sat cross-legged on the floor, flipping through pages filled with tiny notes about Nura's first steps, her first words, all the silly things she used to say. Nura's eyes sparkled. It was like her mother was still there, holding them both together through memories. Months passed, and Nura began to smile more. The sadness in her eyes slowly melted into hope, and Rafik found something he thought he'd lost forever, the belief that love, even in the smallest moments, can heal the deepest wounds. One day, their neighbor's daughter was getting married. Rafik had only a small amount of money left at the end of the month. Still, he slipped an envelope under the neighbor's door, just enough to help buy the bride a warm shawl. When his friend asked, "Brother, you barely make ends meet yourself, why would you do that?" Rafik smiled. "If I help someone's daughter smile today, maybe my Nura's smiles will stay forever." Years later, Nira stood on a small stage at her school graduation. She looked out at the crowd at her father in the front row, his hands calloused but clapping the loudest, and in a clear, confident voice, she said, "My dad couldn't bring my mom back, but he brought back my hope, my laughter, and my dreams. He didn't just fix cars, he fixed my heart too." Rafik sat there, tears streaming down his face, and for the first time in so many years, he was speechless, not because he was broken, but because he finally knew he was enough, not perfect, just present. And sometimes, that's the greatest gift you can give someone who once whispered apologies to the dark. Diaresis moral: always listen for the quiet whispers. Sometimes a child's smallest words hide the deepest wounds. And love patient, forgiving, unconditional love is the one thing that can make broken hearts whole again.